welcome back to Raw 12:51 a.m. and welcome back to the Warwick F1 show. We're here talking about the Canadian Grand Prix. I think another race that was fairly standard. There's not really much happened. Obviously, we had qualifying, which was quite entertaining. Lots of rain involved, a mixed up grid, whether we agree with some of the penalties or not. But then once we did get into the race, it was a bit more standard fare. Obviously, Max Verstappen taking his 5th victory of the season. Sixth victory.
6th out of 8.
Oh, no. 6th victory of the season. Fernando Alonso coming back for his 6th podium of the season as well, and then rounded out with Lewis Hamilton, who called the podium iconic, never before seen, despite the fact it had been seen 5 races ago.
Yeah. And also Lewis's 2 biggest rivals are on the podium with him.
Yeah.
2 of his historically biggest, Alonso and Verstappen.
With Adrian Newey.
Yes.
That's probably, you have to be the podium, I guess, of most titles if you include Newey. I think there was one time where Schumacher, Senna and Prost got on the podium all at once, so I think it's the most drivers.
Yeah.
But
that might have been before Schumacher had any, though.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, if you're looking at it from when they had them at the time.
Yeah.
But 4th place was 4th and 5th. The Ferraris coming back from an early exit for Leclerc in Q2, Sainz not qualifying very well, and then getting a penalty, but did manage to recover during the race. Will, you're very happy that Ferrari didn't mess up for once.
Yeah, I was actually just relaxed watching the race. I was like, I knew what was going on. I had a plan. I was like, they're following what they should be doing. And everyone was like, they came in. There was just mass panic that they'd left their cars out on the softer of the 2 race compounds on a high deg track. And it worked for the first time probably since Austria last year.
Yeah, but a driver who didn't have a great race, George Russell, who self-proclaimed faster than Lewis Hamilton and then binned it in a wall. How that car survived the collision, I will
for that
never
long,
know.
yeah.
No,
and
apparently...
No, the DNF was not even to do with that.
He destroyed his brakes.
But it was brake issues on the left-hand side.
It was terminal brake wear on the front left, which didn't even touch the wall.
Yeah, it was the back right that touched the wall.
He just burnt it out, basically. Like, I think Hamilton did about 7-8 years ago in Canada himself.
Yeah, 2014 Canada, the brakes went on Hamilton's car, and then Ricciardo taking his first win in F1.
That's 9 years ago.
Oh no, we are so old.
Yep.
No, right. Well, what are you giving the race out of 10?
Like a 7, I think.
7?
I thought
I'll give it a 7 as well.
Had a bit of everything. Almost.
I feel like 6.
It was the first safety car since the early period of Baku.
There's been 3 retirements in the last 4 races combined.
Yeah, and 2 of them were in this race. It was great.
Wow.
It's F1. It just seems to be getting a bit predictable. Like, Verstappen will win, probably. Like, even you get a qualifying as messed up as the one we had on Saturday, and we may as well start with that. You get a qualifying as messed up as Saturday's one, with the rain, with all the chaos involved, and yet somehow Max Verstappen is still on pole. Like, what can stop him at this point?
Literally nothing.
A bird tried and failed. So
R.I.P. bird.
I don't know what can stop him. Adrian Newey leaving is probably the only thing.
He is so dominant at the moment.
I mean, it was his 200th win in Formula 1.
Adrian Newey.
Adrian Newey. I was like, Verstappen. I know he's won a lot.
No, I know, but because I was saying Adrian Newey's 200th win, Red Bull's 100th win as a constructor, and Verstappen's now equal Senna's number of victories.
Was that? Yeah, he's got 41 now.
I mean,
that's a lot.
It's a lot. If I was Christian Horner, I'd be so annoyed that it lined up with Red Bull's 100th win and Adrian Newey's 200. Because surely, if you've been there since the start, you've basically built that team. It's the 100th win for the constructor. You're like, yeah, go on, Adrian, up you go.
Was Newey around at Red? When did Newey join Red Bull?
I don't know.
Was he around? I feel like he must have been around from like near the beginning.
Probably like 2009. Probably the year they started winning.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he did admit actually himself that he's nearing retirement. That the process has begun. Were his words, I think.
He has actually become semi-retired now. I think.
Has he?
Huh?
I'm not
sort of semi-retired because he actually no, because there was a period before a couple of years ago where
we left.
where he sort of was actually not.
Didn't he go
for
do the Aston Martin Valkyrie? Or something?
Yeah.
What a car!
Yeah. And also Adrian Newey joined in 2006.
Yeah, so he must have joined them with 100 race wins.
Yeah, basically, and now he's doubled that number. It is quite entertaining to me that Lewis Hamilton has more wins than Red Bull. Will that last for the rest of the season? Very unlikely.
It won't last by the summer break.
Yeah. I mean, what? Red Bull, if Mercedes hadn't won in Brazil, they would have won 18. They would have won all of the last 19 races.
Yeah, something silly like that.
I mean, you look at even Mercedes in 2014, 2016 era. They were never quite this dominant.
No. But that is partly because they used to take each other out every weekend.
Only
and Sergio
one or
Perez
two.
isn't close enough to do that.
That is the thing. I mean, do you think that Red Bull might obviously think Perez needs to be up there, needs to be competing, but you think they're secretly kind of a bit happier that they've got one driver who's so staggeringly consistent at driving at the front that there's no one else to really challenge him and he can get on with his own race and doesn't have to be pressured by his teammate?
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I think for Red Bull, at least having the Verstappen up there is just a complete optimal position. Unfortunately, the second driver position, I think they've just got used to the fact that the second driver has been nowhere near for the last 5 years. Ever since Ricciardo left. Obviously, Gasly, they completely debuted within 6 months. Then Albon was nowhere near, and now Perez is literally doing the same thing now. Have a guess how many seconds he was behind Sainz, who finished ahead of him.
Oh.
Have a guess.
He was dropping back, I think.
He pitted with a lap to go.
Oh,
he
did.
He did
so
pit.
It'll be like...
It was about 10 before he pitted.
Yeah, I would say 32 maybe.
I'm going to 28.
It was almost exactly 30 seconds behind.
Oh, well...
Africa.
Right in the middle. Wait, hang on. Which side of 30 was it? See who wins. Which side of 30 was it?
30, as in 30.
Yeah, but was it like 29.9 or
Oh, wait,
30.1?
29.5.
Yes.
No, but Perez did struggle in quali. Did you watch quali?
Yes.
Yeah.
I missed it. Was it good? It looked good.
It was a good...
It was stressful.
Yeah.
Right, so I saw all the complaints afterwards, and Carlos Sainz needs to be starting in America, basically. What did he actually do?
He basically parked his car on just before the Wall of Champions, so he was on I think it was his in-lap or...
No, it was so there was about 30 seconds to go in the session.
Yeah.
There was someone coming through on a hot lap.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the Hasses came through on one of the hot laps. And so he was getting out of the way before he started going through the chicane. And then as he got to the chicane to start going through it, Yuki Tsunoda then jumped up the inside of him because there was so little time left in the session. He needed to get in. And Pierre Gasly was at the end of his lap and just had to abort, basically.
And that cost him...
cost him to get out of Q1. He probably would have gone top 10 comfortably.
Fair. Well, so what? Deserved penalty? He got a 3-place grid penalty.
Yeah, I think... I understand why people want more, but this is probably partly biased from my point of view. But I can also see why he was going so slowly, because I think a lot of people didn't respect the fact that car was coming through before.
Yeah.
And he probably wasn't told about Gasly coming through as well. He probably heard one's coming through, and then you have 10 seconds to get to the line to start your flying lap, to get out of Q2 or whatever, Q3.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think, Chinmay?
Yeah, no, I think it was a justified penalty. I mean, the other day Sainz did impede Gasly, but then again, it's a very weird predicament what he had. But Will was just mentioning earlier. I can almost kind of see why people wanted the extra harsh penalty, but I think at the end of the day was the right call to make in terms of penalty wise, and I can definitely see Gasly's frustrations about why happened, because at the end of the day where Sainz was quite a bad position as well, because and Gasly had to go through as well, so it was a very narrow area in the wet, and I can see why.
Yeah, and then Tsunoda got a penalty, I think Stroll got a penalty. Did Stroll get a
Stroll got a
Stroll got a
penalty
penalty.
for impeding, and I think Tsunoda, yeah.
Sonoda.
Yeah.
And then
Hulkenberg.
also got a penalty.
Which is a shame, because if he'd kept it, both Haas drivers would have more front row starts than Lewis Hamilton since the start of last season.
Did you not? Really? But Lewis hasn't started front row. Where did he start in Brazil?
Third?
Was it third?
I think so.
Think so.
Max, because Max was second in the sprint.
Yes, he was third. I think
Yeah.
Lewis was closing up on him and then opted not to because it kind of didn't make sense. But yeah, I don't like that stat. So I'm kind of fine with that not being a thing. But no, Nico Hulkenberg, he's always been good in the wet weather on occasion, unless it matters, and then he'll bin it into a gravel trap at the final corner of Hockenheim 2019. But he did well, and I mean, in a Haas as well. He didn't have the best of races. I mean, he was doing well up until like the sort of the safety car period, and then that shuffled him back into the pack. But in a Haas, it's not really much more you can do.
It was a good lap. He locked in the fact that he was the very last driver across the line, and pretty much everyone else behind him was improving. And if the red flag had been about 5-6 seconds later, Alonso would have smashed past him.
Well, you get your luck, get your luck in.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, do you think? I mean, Hulkenberg. I will just do Hulkenberg quickly. It's like he's had a good start to the season. He's been performing really well. Do you think he'll maybe get that extension for next year, or even was it the was it the correct decision to replace Hulkenberg or replace Schumacher with Hulkenberg for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't complain, especially the limitations of the Haas and that car's race pace, especially especially the Haas just has the ability to just chew tyres that there's no tomorrow ever since 2019. They have some sort of curse with tyres for some reason, but yeah. I think Hulkenberg has done a very solid job ever since he's come back to the sport. Comfortably outperformed K-Mag. Yeah, I mean, I would still say that maybe the decision to drop Schumacher was maybe in some views would be a little bit harsh, but I think Haas would definitely be happy about the fact that Hulkenberg's performing. They've done well. He's done well compared to his replacement last year, because K-Mag is definitely struggling this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Haas have said they are planning to keep both drivers for 2024, which doesn't surprise me. I think until the new regs come in, maybe it would make sense to keep both of them. He's been incredibly quick in qualifying. He's had a bit of bad luck with small collisions here and there that have broken off his whole front wing, or like silly errors have given him time penalties and things like that. It's more the Haas that's been the problem rather than him.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, he just seems to be doing the best of his abilities. Obviously, we had that really good finish in Australia that potentially could have been a podium if the FIA weren't killjoys and hated fun. But no, it seems like Hulkenberg for Schumacher was the decision to make. And when Magnussen was so outperforming Schumacher for the majority of the season, and now Hulkenberg's outperforming Magnussen at the majority of the races, then it is very different. And you can say that it was the correct decision, even if some people didn't like it right at the start of the season. But we'll take a quick break now. We'll come back and talk through all of the teams, how they did. Obviously, we'll maybe discuss Red Bull a bit more, Mercedes and Ferrari as well. Welcome back to the Warwick F1 show, and we, as we said, are now going to talk about the big hitters, the teams at the front. We've done Red Bull mostly. I mean, is there anything else we want to add about Red Bull apart from Verstappen is rapid, Perez needs to improve? Do you remember when we were this was less than like a month and a half ago, when we were talking about like Perez, could he challenge for the World Championship? And then that's just gone out the window. Totally. What is the gap now? Have you
many points?
Too many points.
Yeah.
It's like 50, 60 plus.
Well, I've got the standings. I'll do the maths. He is 69 points.
Nice.
Yes.
But
Comeback time.
I mean,
And Perez is 9 points ahead of Alonso. So the fight for second is closing.
It is on. I mean, Red Bull have led every race since the lap 3 of Azerbaijan on the 29th of April.
Yeah, and that was a Ferrari that led it.
And Verstappen's led every lap since about the end of Miami.
Yeah.
I think he's one race. If he leads every lap of Austria, he might break the record or
I
something.
think it's Austria. He's in about 20 laps away or something from breaking Ascari's 70-year-old record.
That would be insane if he broke it.
It'd be so impressive.
And he didn't manage the Grand Slam, which cost me 3 points.
Oh no!
It was potentially looking on, but the gap was only 10 seconds this time as opposed to 20. So bit of improvement for the rest of the grid.
No, I think just Red Bull just sandbagging.
Probably.
They just didn't go at full pace.
Yeah. So do you think there will be a battle for second? Do you think Perez will ever improve back to, I guess, the levels he started with, or is Alonso v Perez and potentially Lewis Hamilton? Is that on the cards for the rest of the season?
That is most definitely on the cards. We are past all of the street circuits where Checo has done well in previous years, apart from Singapore. Otherwise, he may be struggling on these big open circuits where he has no motivation not to run wide.
Yeah, basically. And we'll move on. I guess we'll do Aston Martin quickly as well. Alonso he did the best he could. Again, it's just Aston Martin and Red Bull are very similar at the moment in that their top driver is doing by far and away the best that they can, and then the second driver is being a bit mid at the moment. And Lance Stroll, he just had issues was there any particular issue in quali, or was it just slow?
Yeah, I think it was just slow.
Yeah. And then I guess he did all right in the race.
He did okay. I think he got done over by pitting just before the safety car.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the drivers that pit the lap before.
And then
so he did well to get back in the points, I guess.
He got 9th. Oh, he got 10th in the end, overtaking Bottas on the line, which was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Get a bit of revenge for Baku 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, got back into the points, finished, ended up 9th. I mean, it's one of those classic, is the Aston Martin quicker than it's looking because Alonso, or is it slower than maybe representative of where Stroll should be? I don't know.
The problem is Alonso has a reputation of overdoing the cars, and Stroll has a reputation of underdoing the cars. So it is a hard one in that respect.
I feel like it's between the Ferrari and the Mercedes. It's kind of in that middle.
Yeah.
I think if Lance Stroll was an average driver, he'd be with the Ferraris, like on pace roughly.
He just seems to be struggling in qualifying at the moment. That's been
his race pace has been quite good lately.
I mean, hopefully he gets back up there, or especially for Aston Martin's sake. And we'll do Mercedes as well quickly. Lewis Hamilton, he's shrugged off the issues he had potentially last year, and is now putting in again performances that are about as good as they can be. I mean, Mercedes were coming into this not expecting much, and then came out of it with a podium, and you'd have to say that's a good race and good result for them with at least one of their drivers.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Lewis Hamilton had a good result. But yeah, I think the Aston Martin was just that marginally quicker, probably. At least with Alonso at the wheel. So I think Lewis, and if Russell didn't have a shun, I think it would have been comfortable third and fourth for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mercedes would be disappointed they didn't get a double podium. I think if both cars had been there, I think you would have seen a Merc double podium more than likely. Because before Russell crashed, he was practically on Alonso's tail, and Lewis was comfortably ahead. And then after the safety car, I mean, Alonso decided that he wanted to overtake his friend.
They have got so friendly with each other.
Yeah.
I'm convinced people you just get old and then you're like, it doesn't matter anymore. Why are we enemies? And then they just start being nice to one another.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Sebastian and Alonso pretty fierce with each other back in 2010, 2012, and they don't have any problems.
Yeah. And Russell, what's your take on Russell? Because again, he had his issue, then somehow had brake issues that were nothing to do with his issue. That car, honestly, I don't know what they make Mercedes F1 cars out of these days, but they are made of granite or something, because those things don't die in any way from collisions.
I have always been on the opinion, and I said it on this podcast actually about a year ago, that George Russell is not a championship winning driver.
Well, I got to the point when people were saying like Russell was better than Hamilton. I was like, he got lucky on a number of occasions last season with safety cars and things like that.
He is similar to Fernando Alonso in that he can outdrive a bad car, but he can't drive a good car. He doesn't know how to maximise it. Like, he can wrestle a bad car and get the most out of it like he did in that Williams and last year's Merc. But as soon as the Merc came good, other than maybe Brazil, he wasn't on the pace.
In Brazil, Lewis was pressuring him and he had that damage from his collision with Verstappen
and the only reason he had such a good qualifying position is because he beached it in Brazil.
And then, obviously, that cost everyone another chance after the rain got heavier. I mean, is he struggling this season? He's down in, 6th in the championship.
Yep.
He is, how many points behind Lewis is he?
He is, I've got the thing up on, I've got the F1 app on. So he is currently 37 points.
Yeah.
So, effectively 65% of the points Lewis has got.
I mean, he was unlucky in Australia, but he lost out to Lance Stroll with a broken wrist in Bahrain. Saudi, I want to say he beat Lewis in Saudi, didn't he?
Yes.
Because Lewis wanted to overtake and then George just pulled away.
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
So almost the opposite of what happened yesterday.
But then he finished behind Lewis in Baku.
Yep.
But and that was even after he got fairly lucky with the timing of the VSC.
Yeah.
And he managed to jump ahead of him. Behind Lewis in Miami.
Yep.
Got a bit unlucky in Australia. Behind Lewis in Spain, and now I think it's 5-4-2 or 5-2. I think in the race, and now
it's not good.
It was it's 6-2, and then I think it's 4-all in qualifying. I mean, do you think Russell will start to get unnerved a bit? Because, like you said, he's now 35 points behind, which when you're not competing for wins on the regular, that's a fair gap to make up. I mean, what do you think Russell does?
I think first of all, Russell does need to reduce his ego a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing. I mean, because especially in the last few races, he's basically saying I'm the kind of trying to act like the number one driver, that he's faster than Lewis when he clearly has not been. Also he needs to obviously find that consistency in the car. So I'll try and, he needs to just find his footing again. Because the thing is, we know what the potential of George Russell is. I mean, whether he is a championship winning driver, we don't know until he's actually fighting a championship, or if he ends up fighting for a championship. But to prove his worth, he needs to do it now. Because how old is he? About 23 now.
Must be older than that. He must be older than
23, 24 at this point. So, that's a bit where you're going to start entering your prime. And this is the prime time where the top teams will want you to extract the most out of the car. And right now, Lewis...
He's 25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
same age as Verstappen.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It baffles me how Verstappen's only 25. He's been around for so long. Well, his debut was in 2015.
8 years.
8 years ago. Oh, gosh.
He was 17.
Time flies. But yeah, so Russell checking the ego up a little bit?
Yeah, no, that's definitely the first thing. He needs to basically look back and realize that, he is not as fast as Lewis at the moment. He needs to start looking at how Lewis, because the thing is as well, you can't have a better benchmark than Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Because Lewis Hamilton obviously is statistically the most successful driver of all time at the moment. Whether he GOAT status, obviously that's a debatable thing because obviously different eras, etc.
Probably undeniable to say he's one of.
Oh yeah, it's undeniable. His driving ability. There's a reason why he's won 7 world championships, and especially he's fought the people like Nico Rosberg and Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen, obviously fought them tooth and Fernando Alonso.
I mean, he's fought all of the world champions.
Yeah, Jenson Button as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could say all of the world champions since 2005. Probably can't really count Schumacher. When he came back for that period.
Yeah, he's fought tooth and nail with the best there is, and a lot of the times he's come out on top. And you can't deny his driving ability. So, and he's got and as much as there have been moments in his profession, like outside the track and stuff, I've never been personally a fan of some things he does. But his work ethic is something, obviously, one of the best, something George Russell will have to look up to in order to, really extract what potential he has. We look at George Russell's junior pedigree, and we know he's got that potential. He just needs to start showing it now, really.
Yeah. I think he needs to be a lot more aggressive. Yeah. He almost just seems like he's on not in terms of overtaking. Sometimes it's a bit brash, but in terms of qualifying laps, he almost seems scared to wreck his Merc. Like in the Williams, we'd see him kind of on the edge, maximising. I think that's that Mugello lap.
I was thinking
where he almost destroyed the car.
Flat.
We've not seen anything similar to that in his Merc days. I think he needs to be a bit more on the edge, almost not necessarily aggressive, but he needs to get as much as possible. Because even in race trim, we see him, he's not pushing the limits. He's comfortable and he's driving quickly, but you see your teammate pulling away from you.
I think he's just not being ruthless enough. You look to Baku is probably the best example. At that point he'd got ahead of Lewis on a track that was proving to be, and we obviously saw, very difficult to overtake on. But 2 laps after the restart, Lewis got past Hulkenberg a lap before, and then just dives it down the inside at turn 1. Yeah. And it is it's sort of like a mark of authority for the team saying that, or Lewis saying that, I'm faster, I'm going to go through, and then I'm going to go on to finish ahead of my teammate. It probably didn't help, I think, as well, when he was like, there are some drivers I just don't want to race wheel to wheel, and then everyone was like,
yeah,
don't know.
Yeah, I just saw one of them, and it was just the Spider-Man meme, and they were all just George Russell, just.
No, but it just feels like he doesn't really. I don't think he really knows. I think he feels a bit lost at the moment.
Yeah,
I think he's lost his identity since he went to Mercedes.
Yeah.
Or since he was linked to that seat. From that crash with Bottas and Imola, I think he's become less and less likeable by the day almost.
It would be interesting if he was when Lewis retires, which I think Lewis and Fernando probably go in the same season, personally. It would be interesting to see which driver Mercedes bring in, and will it be a 1-2, a defined 1-2 like you see with Red Bull, or will it be sort of you can fight for that top spot, and then what happens with that? Do you think George Russell do you think he enjoys fighting for that top spot with his teammate? Because on the evidence it doesn't look as though that is the case. No,
it doesn't. I think he thrived having who was Williams' team? He had Latifi.
We had Kubica.
Kubica and
2019, and then Latifi.
He replaced Rotkin, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with all due respect to both Kubica and Latifi, then they weren't the most.
He was their golden child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Up until obviously he joined Mercedes in 22, and then you're coming into a team with a 7-time world champion, as we've said, the most successful driver in the sport, one of the greatest, one of the quickest of all time, who's competed against every good driver for the last, or every like seriously good driver for the last 18 years almost. And yeah, it just seems like he's struggling a little bit. What do you think he can do to turn it around?
I think we're going to Austria next, and they both crashed last year. So I think that will be it'll be a first sort of mental kind of block to get past. I don't think they had a great weekend last year, did they? Was that when Mick Schumacher had a good fight with Hamilton?
Yeah, but they think they got third and fourth, I want to say, because I know one of them finished. I think Hamilton finished on the podium after Carlos Sainz
blew up.
Yeah.
What happened to Checo?
Oh, he got spun by Russell.
That doesn't surprise me.
At turn 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Famous Mercedes Red Bull fun corner.
Yeah.
I think to have a good sprint weekend, I think that will be what's on his mind. I think focus on that race, get ready, go into Silverstone, where Lewis Hamilton will have every single fan basically supporting him. It's not going to be the most enjoyable environment when your teammates in even more of the spotlight than normal.
Yeah, definitely. Austria and Silverstone will be two. If he can pull some results from that, that'll be a really good confidence boost for Russell. Hopefully that'll boost in the confidence, not arrogance, because obviously we've seen in the last couple of months especially, but ever since really he's got the Mercedes seats, Russell's kind of added too much of arrogance into his personality, and I think that's showing on track as well now. And if he can do well in Austria and Silverstone especially, that will be a good sort of confidence boost for the rest of the season. Because at the end of the day, Russell's primary objective at the moment is to beat Lewis Hamilton, and he's just not doing that at the moment. So we have to see how it goes, really.
I think the best thing that could happen to him, it's going to sound really backwards, but to have a crash almost. But make it so you're being aggressive. Like, get your elbows out. Maybe even take Lewis with you. Have that, not necessarily from a Mercedes point of view, but kind of show that you're not going to back down. Show that you can keep up with him. Maybe not defensively, but say you start fourth and Lewis is third. Get your elbows out into turn 1 or going up to turn 3, if the real turn 2. But
he's not really been in any battles this season, Russell, has he?
Don't think so. Was he in one in Spain?
I think he just sort of overtook everyone quite easily.
Yeah.
And then it's always been like Verstappen and Perez when he's up there, and Alonso have been quite far away, and then there's a bit of a gap to like the Ferraris, and they it's always shuffled about.
Yeah.
It is a difficult one, but hopefully Russell can come good. And can potentially beat the final team we're going to talk about. And, well, I know
we'll let you take the spotlight for a little bit.
We'll let you pray.
You'll be happy.
Well, hang on, before we do, is there anything we need to add to the Ferrari?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do have a bit. What did Ferrari do wrong?
Oh my word, it hurt. Charlotte, it's raining. It's gone dry between Q1 and Q2. It's drying. Alex Albon is out there on the softs. Charles Leclerc hasn't started a hot lap yet. Comes out. Oh, I think we should pit for softs while it's dry. No, we think you should put a banker in on a drying track in Inters as the last car out, or basically the last car out. Great. Comes in, sends them straight back out on a pair of softs. Now it's raining. By the time he starts his lap, it's too wet. The softs have no traction, or not enough to make any gains, and he then gets stuck where he is. And just listen to what your driver says. He's the one on the track. He's the one driving.
They do it, and I think either Ted or Crofty mentioned they do it during the race. They're like, we're going to do this strategy. And then the driver's like, nah. And then like, yeah, okay then.
Yeah.
We'll do it anyway.
Yeah, Ferrari went to plan X this time.
Well, it's the
plan
same.
X.
No, engine mode X. It was the same. It was the same in Spain. Leclerc was like, because they went onto the hards for Leclerc at the end. He was like, I want to go softs. And they're like, okay, pit confirm, whatever. And as he got into pit lane, we're going hard. Like, bro, why? Why do you hate this man?
We put a sneaky on him.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's like, you ask your drivers pretty much every other race what they want to do and just ignore it. But what's the point in asking?
But they did do well this race. They came out of it well. Did they underperform though? They did well, but they did well in relation to qualifying, which was underperforming. Could they have got that podium and potentially challenged Hamilton and Alonso?
I don't think they could, on the basis that the Ferrari eats its tyres up any time it pushes too hard. I think the fact that they made Sainz not fight his teammate shows that if they tried to push those tyres, tried to almost chase after those podium points and positions, that the tyres would have gone. I think had they started where they should have, say 5th and 6th, 4th, 5th, whatever, then it may have been a bit more interesting. If they had stayed out, you might have seen one of them in the lead perhaps, or have that kind of battle at the front, or for second maybe, and it would have been a bit more interesting. But I think because of how far behind they were anyway, and trying to keep the mediums while everyone was on fresh hards, and it was a bit harder. And I think the fact that Sainz was never really behind Leclerc, like he could have stuck right behind him and just had DRS the whole time, but the fact he was comfortably just 2 seconds holding it, wasn't dropping or wasn't gaining, shows that they were just saving tyres and just picking up as many points as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there was a point where Sainz was like, oh, I have a bit of pace. And then literally, like, within 2 laps, he loses like a second and a half.
It is so,
I love it when F1 drivers do that. They're like, oh, I've got pace. And it's just so obviously a coded message for, please can you get him to let me through?
Yeah.
And I mean, they were holding off Perez though.
They were gapping Perez on harder tyres.
But is that just Perez
being Perez.
a little bit washed?
I think Red Bull as well were a bit concerned that their car didn't handle the bumps very well. And it wasn't their strongest track. And
when you saw the replay of Verstappen go over that curve, you're like, that could have ended exactly how Russell's one ended.
But that's a skill issue.
We were just praising George Russell. Well, not praising. We were evaluating his performances, and now we're just calling him, saying he's got skill issues.
No, I think it just shows that Max Verstappen was half asleep and didn't put it in the wall. And George Russell was chasing someone down. And
also because the RB18 is a lot more stable for platform as well.
That too.
I'm kind of convinced there'll be one race Verstappen bins it in the
Falls
gravel because he's not paying attention as much.
I wouldn't be surprised. It'll be when Alonso's comfortably second. I'm convinced he wants Alonso to win a race this year more than he wants Perez to.
It could have happened at Monaco had it not. I think once it started raining, you've kind of got to pay attention. And he did hit the ball.
Well, but I think it's because he got left out on the wrong tyres for a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah. The F1 cars these days, they're built like tanks. They don't fall apart.
But they have to be. You look at some of the drivers at the rear of the grid.
Well, we'll talk about them in a second. But no, anything... What do you think... So just good performance for Ferrari? I mean, second most constructors?
Second most because Perez was just behind Sainz. So.
Oh, yeah, of course. But, yeah, they second most constructors points, made up a few on Mercedes and Aston Martin. Just did as well as they could.
It was a confidence building weekend. I think you're going into a track you won last year where you did well. You've got some straight line speed. If you can sort some DRS help out and you don't bin it in quali, and then again a track you got pole on last year in Silverstone, it could be a good double header if you don't mess everything up.
Right, well, we'll take another break. We'll come back and look at our winners and spinners of the weekend. All the other drivers we haven't spoken about so far. Welcome back to the Warwick F1 show. Yep, that's the show we are doing right now. And we're doing winners and spinners now. So, start with the winners. We've covered a few of them. I think fair to say all of the podium were winners.
Yeah.
Like they just had the best races they could. Ferrari,
specifically the strategists.
The strategists of Ferrari, because we have to give them credit at some point. And the one driver that was definitely a winner that we haven't mentioned is the human roadblock himself, Alex Albon.
Yes.
He got 7th in a Williams. That moved them up above Haas and AlphaTauri, I think.
Don't think Haas. I think Haas have got 9 points already.
Oh,
Because didn't Haas get a few points in Australia?
I think Hulkenberg would have moved them up above Alpha.
Yeah, it's definitely
at the
Alpha.
very
Yeah.
least.
Has to got one more point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So AlphaTauri on 2, and is it Williams on 7?
Yeah.
Then Haas 8, Alpha 9.
Nice and close at the bottom.
And then McLaren at 17.
Yeah, they're very
Sorry, just had to.
6th right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Albon, it's just a very good performance, and it's one we've seen him do before. You think back to Australia last year, where he kind of did the same thing and then was helped a bit by Stroll, but Williams, that thing is a rocket in a straight line. It just can't do corners.
It is literally the muscle car of F1 right now.
Yeah.
It's just a NASCAR.
It isn't.
Oh, I miss the NASCAR Garage 56. My one true love.
You just missed the memes.
But yeah, I mean, Albon, again, just proving that his time in Red Bull shouldn't define him as an F1 driver.
No, it shouldn't. He's been very good since he's been back at Williams. I am very adamant, though, that although there weren't many other drivers that could have won it, I don't agree with the driver of the day. I don't think he did anything exceptionally different.
He's in a Williams.
Yeah, but he
is.
didn't do anything wrong.
He's in
No,
a Williams.
Tell me what he did differently to what Charles Leclerc did in the Ferrari. Yeah, and it's a
In the
Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Exactly.
It's a
A Ferrari
Ferrari.
that managed to get medium tyres to go longer than anyone did on the hards, apart from Alex Albon.
It's still a front-running car.
It is. I don't think Charles Leclerc should have been driver of the day.
Who should have been driver of the day, then?
Probably Verstappen, I think. How can you win 2 races from start to finish without leading any laps and not be driver of the day in either?
I just quite like, how do you win a Grand Slam and still not be driver of the day?
Yeah,
I mean,
because-
objectively, I would have given probably Verstappen in Spain. I would have given it to Verstappen.
Yeah.
Because you can't do any better if you get a
No,
Grand Slam.
you can't. It's silly that it wasn't.
Yeah.
Who did it go to? Was
Lewis,
it-
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he did
Wow, but
not as good as
No.
Verstappen, but going back to Albon.
yeah, I think he had a very good drive. But I also think that track is set up for that Williams perfectly.
Yeah.
Straight line, put it in the right place, you're not going to get overtaken.
It's like Monza, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Nick de Vries got points in a Williams at Monza.
Yeah. And we all know Nick de Vries is
A very,
driver.
very good driver.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you... Albon, driver of the day, maybe not?
Yeah, I mean, I can see where Will's coming from, but I don't know
He
who.
was 7th, though.
It's
It's not like he just snuck into
Yeah,
the
but
top 10.
on raw pace, he wasn't. He couldn't overtake anyone initially. The only reason he was there is because he didn't pit.
Yeah.
But
Kind of look, maybe that was the correct... Well, that seemed to be the correct strategy.
One stop was the correct strategy.
That only 3 cars did.
Yeah. 2 of them being Ferrari.
Yeah,
that's so weird. That the fact that the best strategy was done by Ferrari.
Feels wrong.
best strategy.
Yeah.
No. I mean, what? Would you give an Albon driver of the day?
Yeah, probably. If I'm being
I get the
brutally
point,
honest.
but just no one had...
No one had
No.
a good enough day.
No,
That was-
there
that
was
the
no one
outstanding
standout
day.
performance like we normally have. That's
Yeah.
what
I
it
think if
is.
Max had got the fastest lap, probably.
Yeah, if he got back-to-back Grand Slams, I think.
Being absurd.
No, I think Albon still would have got it.
Yeah, he would have, because there were people literally outside the grandstands. They were doing someone was doing like F1 driver rankings. People just weren't ranking Verstappen, just stamping on the name. I'm like, why? What's the need? There's just people that are just salty still.
I think if Verstappen gets pole, I don't think he will win driver of the day.
I think Verstappen could win from last and wouldn't get driver of the day.
No, he definitely would.
No.
He definitely
He would.
I think Team LH would still make sure that Lewis got driver of the day. Lewis could start on pole and finish second,
Lewis
and he'd
doesn't
get
get that many driver of the days, I don't think.
more than he probably should.
I actually don't know the driver of the day stats.
I don't, but I feel like it's more than. I feel like if Lewis had won from start to finish yesterday, he would have got it.
Yeah, but
Even in like 2018, I mean,
maybe. I don't know.
because wasn't he like second yesterday? Wasn't he like second in driver of the day voting or something yesterday?
Yeah.
And he didn't even overtake Alonso. He started and finished in
Yeah.
the same place.
I mean,
This is my issue with it. I don't.
his driver
I
of the
don't.
day.
It's just fan vote.
I think Verstappen was third.
No, I think it was Alonso.
Which, I don't know.
I don't think Verstappen was on it.
Jimmy, are you looking up the driver of the day statistics?
No, but no, it's just-
Well, Right, we'll stop arguing about driver of the day.
Yeah.
Arguably the most pointless thing F1 has ever
Yes.
invented.
Imagine
Yeah.
there were points for it.
Oh,
it's like,
gosh.
do you remember when there was like fan boost in Formula E?
That was the
That
most
was
stupid
the
thing
most
ever.
Ridiculous thing.
The 2021 championship is decided by driver of the
The
day.
day. Oh my God, could you imagine?
The fandoms would be in uproar. Other winners of the, I guess, race.
Valtteri Bottas.
Yes, actually.
Yes, actually, yeah.
Because he has had a bit of a torrid time for the last few races. But, again,
Got a point.
got a point. He could have got 2 if he'd been 0.03 seconds quicker.
Yeah. Sneezing.
That was quite fun to see right at the end when you love a good
Yeah.
last lap overtake.
Held your
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
Any other winners?
I don't think so there was, really. Probably.
There was just not very many.
There were
Like,
a lot of people that, like, Ocon was,
Okay.
Yeah.
he was
Average.
good again, like, nothing special.
right,
So-
the spinners.
Start with Perez.
Yeah.
Perez,
Lando
George
Norris.
Russell. Norris. Norris is an interesting one because
Norris was
objectively
very-
he had a good race except for the penalty.
I think I'll just give it to McLaren in general.
Yeah.
yeah,
I wouldn't give it to Norris especially because the thing is, minus that penalty, it was a solid performance considering the pace of
It
the
was
McLaren
it
car.
was solid, but I think you knew very well what you were doing.
he got some
Yeah.
good overtakes in.
It did. I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say a spinner, but more just like a loser from the
Well,
weekend.
that's the thing. Like everyone was complaining because 5-second penalty for unsportsmanlike
when
conduct.
he slowed everyone up behind him by 5 seconds.
That is a penalty that is given.
Yes.
Lewis Hamilton got it in, I want to say 2017 or 18 Bahrain.
Yeah, something.
I think
Yeah.
a few years or like a while ago. Do you think most people are just objecting to the fact it was called unsportsmanlike conduct?
That and the fact that it was Lando Norris.
Yeah, probably. His fans
Yeah.
are raging.
Yeah. What were your opinions on the lack of penalties for unsafe releases?
Oh, they were not unsafe. They were borderline.
I thought they both should have been. Especially the Mercedes one, actually.
I would have thought...
Because Alonso visibly had to slow.
He had to slow and he had to weave a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's still, but that is unsafe.
Yeah.
Did you see Toto Wolff?
Yeah, that was a good moment.
I think they're really borderline,
Yeah.
but
I
they
can,
just about okay.
I can see why they weren't.
Mm.
Also, if I was someone like Ferrari and that had affected my
yeah.
race, I would have been a bit aggrieved because there have definitely been ones that have been less than that given this season.
Have there? I'm trying to.
I'm sure there have been. There have been some dodgy FIA calls, probably in Baku or something.
I think, but it was the thing, like, they were both sort of just ahead of the driver. It wasn't like one was coming up right on the side, someone had to, like, slam on the brakes. It was, like,
No.
mild braking. That's why I say
Yeah.
they were about as borderline as you could
I
get.
think they were lenient because it's quite a narrow pit lane to start with,
Yeah.
and it was a safety car, and everyone would come in, and it's fine. It was probably the best gap they could get their cars into without losing every space.
I think if it was given, I wouldn't maybe have minded too much. If they weren't given, then obviously...
It's one of those ones like in football, like
Yeah.
VAR wouldn't overturn it.
Exactly.
Whatever way it went, like you could kind of see both
I think
views.
both had to be. If both...
If one was, the other
Yeah,
would
one
be.
was, one had to be. At least they were consistent
Yeah.
in not giving one or the other.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Any other spin? Oh, Nick de Vries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Russell got his own through goes Hamilton.
Yeah.
Turns it.
Yeah.
It's like, Mum, can we get through goes Hamilton? No, we've got through goes
Through goes
Hamilton at
Hamilton
home. But yeah, it was quite funny. I do kind of think Magnussen just positioned his car in a way that kind of stopped de Vries exiting before him.
Yeah.
He was just like,
No.
you're not going first.
Not going anywhere. I would have loved it if he'd driven past, span around, and just looked straight at him. But no.
Well, because and then Magnussen pitted and came out right by de Vries, and I was like, are we going to see this again? But
It was
yeah.
like the Vries just locked up. There was no way he was ever making the corner anyway, but just completely blocked Magnussen from going through.
Oh, de Vries. I mean, I feel like Magnussen was a bit like aggressive on the first one. Because was it Magnussen
Yeah.
on the inside of turn 2?
No. Yeah, Magnussen was the inside of turn 2.
I think so. And then...
De Vries must have been on the inside of turn 2.
Magnussen was on...
No, because
because De Vries was on the inside.
Yeah, Magnussen forced him wide.
Yeah.
And that was a bit naughty.
Not great. But it's
De Vries, I think De Vries was unlucky because he locked up. But he shouldn't have been taking that line.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Magnussen, he'd rear-ended Perez at the start. he just did not brake. Was not committed to braking at all.
No.
Yeah. Any other spinners or winners? I'm trying to think. It's just a fairly standard.
Kevin Magnussen didn't have a great weekend compared to his teammate.
I still think it's just the Haas. Just don't think the Haas is very good. Logan Sargent, it wasn't really his fault.
No, but it wasn't.
He just sort of broke down.
Yeah. Yuki Tsunoda didn't have a great weekend by his standards lately.
I think
the AlphaTauri wasn't.
Yeah, I just think the AlphaTauri again
wasn't great. Zhou Guanyu was a bit quiet, but then he had that issue in qualifying.
Which
his engine that just died as he went onto the grid.
Well, that's not good.
But he recovered it and they went back out.
And then he just didn't.
Yeah, they red flagged it and then he just started again.
It was just a fairly standard race.
There weren't any horrendous mistakes.
We need to get some more unreliability back in the sport.
I can't wait for the new regs.
Three DNFs in 4 races.
Yeah, it's too low. We need some. There's not enough chaos.
I'm convinced F1 drivers have got too careful. They're all so careful these days.
They're all gentleman drivers.
Yeah.
I honestly think social media plays a part in it.
Really? That's not a bad
I think
shout, actually.
if you crash into Lewis Hamilton, you're getting a lot of hate mail.
Yeah.
Or if you crash into Max, or if you crash into
Lando.
Charles or Lando, or George, any of the British drivers or young drivers, you're going to get...
If you crash into De Vries, you're like, fine.
Like, if you're George Russell and you someone up the inside of Lewis Hamilton and crash, you do not want to go on your phone that night.
That is the thing. And everyone's so careful. Like, what was the last time we had a big turn 1 incident? I'm not counting Australia because that was like lap 50, whatever. But turn 1 incidents, they don't happen anymore.
There's not been one this year, I don't think.
Is there one last year?
Must have been.
It was like Belgium with Hamilton and Alonso, but I don't think that really counts.
That wasn't turn 1, was it?
No.
Silverstone.
Oh yeah, that was the last.
That's quite a memorable one.
Yeah, unfortunately everyone ended up okay, but they do seem to be pretty careful these days.
I mean, Brazil was a bit chaotic. Not first lap, but you had a few crashes.
It's just when you put Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen on the track, anywhere near each other.
Not even that.
We
had like Charles and Lando as well, and bit of everything.
Right. Well. Yeah. Got anything else we want to add, or should we move on to the predictions after a quick break?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything much else to say now.
I think 6 out of 10. It was a
better than average.
Yeah,
better than average. Again, Canada is just these days. It's one where I'm like, it's not that.
It's basically Monza. It's just DRS trains.
Yeah.
Yeah, but more likely to overtake. Compared to Monza, I'd say.
Yeah, can't wait to go to Monza and see the Red Bull 70,000 miles an hour quicker than everyone else.
I kind of want Ferrari just to bring an illegal engine just for one race. Just to Monza. Like, yeah, sod it. Why not?
Just like...
Mercedes got away with it in Brazil a few years ago.
True.
Wasn't illegal. They just bought an engine basically for one race. They're like, we are using this for like 3 races, so we may as well turn it up.
The thing is, everyone will take new engines at Monza as well, because it will be after Zandvoort, and you can run at Zandvoort on a dodgy engine.
Oh, it's after Zandvoort. Whoever made this,
which is after the summer break.
It
is always after Zandvoort.
Themselves.
Yeah.
I know we've said it a lot, but it's out of order.
It's criminal. It's criminal to put Belgium before the summer break. But
right, we'll take one final break. We'll come back and do our predictions for Austria and look at our predictions. Oh, it's sprint weekend. Got my sprint weekend predictions. And look at our predictions for Canada as well. Welcome back to the final segment of the Warwick F1 show, and as we were saying, we are now going to look at our predictions for the Canadian Grand Prix and make some more for Austria.
Yep.
But, Chinmay, Canada's predictions, how are they looking?
Right, so going in, we were actually tied on points because we didn't talk about this in the last show, but there was a thing in Limbo where Will's thing about Will's 2-pointer about Spain having the most overtakes of the season so far, which did come out true. About 60.
Only by 5. I think it was 65 to 60 in Miami.
Yeah. So that actually brought us 34 all on point on the tie, and obviously we are doing that. Remember, we are doing that new draft thing where one of us can't choose the same drive. Well, we can't choose the same driver effectively. So Will's podium was Verstappen, Alonso, Russell.
Oh, that's close.
Just wrong Mercedes.
Yeah, you'd taken Hamilton already.
I had Hamilton. So unfortunately,
that's 6 points for me.
And 1 point for me because I had Hamilton, Perez, Sainz, which is horrendous.
I think it was the fact you didn't take Alonso was probably the one.
Yeah, because
I took Verstappen, and then you left me Alonso.
Yeah.
You didn't take Paris first.
Some poor drafting.
You didn't take Paris first, so you
no,
went,
because the thing is, the
track they
no,
hate.
but don't forget.
He thought Perez would come second
Because it's more likely Perez comes second than
Perez
first.
This is true. Yeah.
So.
Oh, and you get to go back to back, don't you?
Yeah.
That's true.
So I had 1 point, you had 6.
Nice.
The 1, 2, 3 pointers was not as successful, but Will, you're very close and quite a lot. So you predicted a Stroll point finish, which happened.
Yeah.
You predicted Mercedes had the second highest amount of points constructors wise from the weekend.
Would have happened if Russell hadn't crashed.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
What?
It would have.
No, it would have.
It would have happened.
They both would have been ahead of the Ferraris.
Third and fourth.
Yep.
Versus first and what would it have been? First and seventh. Which is
about
31 v 27.
Yeah. And then you said there'll be another Verstappen Grand Slam, but didn't because didn't get fast lap. So that is in total 7 points for you. I had Verstappen pole by at least a tenth. He was 1.2 seconds ahead. Stroll crushes out the race, which didn't happen.
No.
And has double points finish, which was likely at the start of the which had a slight outside chance at the start of the race, but
it did until Nick de Vries intervened.
Yes.
What happened with Nico Hulkenberg? He
just felt
running.
It's just the Haas race pace is awful,
and then he was 15th.
The Haas race pace is just awful, and we complained about Haas. We complained Ferrari chewing the tires. Haas just worse. I think they've probably got the worst tire day by far of any car on the grid.
I suppose. I guess they can heat their tires up. That's why they do well in the wet.
Yeah. So in total, that's 7 points to 2 points.
Ooh.
To 41-36 to
5
Will.
points ahead. I'm back.
Yeah. So
but we move on to Austria.
Yeah.
Austria. It's right. I think my cool feelings about Austria are just the fact Mercedes don't do very well there.
Probably. Because I
also think objectively it's a bit of a boring circuit.
No, I wouldn't
No.
Yeah.
No, not really.
It's just like
it's much better than Canada.
Yes.
Yeah, but I also think Canada's a boring circuit.
I quite like it as a circuit. I think it's got high speed, low speed, and long straights.
Yeah.
Turn 4 is always fun.
It's one of the few tracks you don't tend to get DRS trains for a long time. Because people do just send it up the inside.
It's a weird. I think it's quite elevation. There's a big elevation change, and I think that makes a difference as well.
Yeah,
it's like easier to overtake.
Well, you get that extra power, don't you? Well, not power, but the extra speed and.
Well, it's like the straights are essentially longer than they look because if you brake later, because you're braking uphill, especially for turn 3, which we've already discussed, the absolute outrage of calling that turn 3 after calling the kink on the straight turn 2.
Yeah. But
we've seen entertaining races there. 2019.
Yep.
Standout one.
Yep.
The first race in 2020 was an entertaining one.
Bottas, and then obviously Norris getting his first podium that race.
Yeah. And Lewis and Albon coming together for the second time.
Yep, turn 4 is now the official place of Red Bulls being punted off by Mercedes drivers. We'll see. We'll see what happens this year.
2016, when Nico Rosberg kind of forgot about turn 3 and just kept driving straight.
Yep.
It's been a good one since it came back onto the calendar in 2014.
It's been one of the best ones they've brought on lately in the last sort of 10 years, especially the ones that have come back.
Yeah. Do you think I think it will last as well?
Yeah.
No, it's not going.
Red Bull are doing well.
Yeah, Red Bull in the sport. Max Verstappen's got the support.
I mean, now with the legacy of Dietrich Mateschitz, because he was the guy who actually brought back the Red Bull ring, or the Österreich ring, or whatever you call it.
I think objectively, it's a good track. I'm just biased against it.
But
cool.
Yeah.
Right, do you want to do predictions?
Yeah, let's head out to make our new predictions.
You're first this
time.
I'm
first this week.
I wonder which I wonder which driver you're going to think to win the Austrian Grand Prix.
Actually, I mean, to be fair, it is spoiler, it's tying into my 3-pointer, so it is, so I am obliged to put him first. A guy who definitely has not won about 3/4 of the races this year. And definitely not 21 of the last 2 seasons already.
Yeah, pretty much every race at the Red Bull ring for like the
21
last 4 years
races out of a possible
The only one he had, so he won
30?
2019. Didn't win either of 2020.
No, but I think he had reliability in both of them.
Yeah. Actually, who did he win? Did he win 20? Who won the 2020 Styrian Grand Prix then?
Lewis.
Lewis.
He got it.
It was the wet quali, wasn't it?
He put it on pole by like.
And then he won
1.2.
both 2021 ones because he did the tyre squid over the line, didn't he?
I forgot we went to Austria twice in 2021.
Yeah, it's because of the cancellation, wasn't it?
Pandemic. And then he won in 2022. Got his.
No, it was Leclerc won in 22.
Oh, of course he did. It's the last race Ferrari won. It's almost been a year now. How do you feel about that?
Not happy.
Yeah. So maybe not as dominant as he maybe looks, but I think Verstappen first has to be the prediction, and it's one Chinmay's gone for.
Yeah.
I am gonna go right. This is it's an interesting one because I'm gonna put Perez first.
Okay.
But I don't think he'll win. I'm going to do your strat, actually. I'm going to put Perez first and Alonso second.
Fair enough.
Do you think the Aston has the straight line speed?
Well, they managed it in
Canada, I suppose.
Well, they got good traction in Canada.
Yeah.
But I kind of just I want Alonso.
Yeah.
Because if I don't get Alonso now, you'll take him.
That's true.
Exactly.
Because Alonso was going to be, he's going to be my third place.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep Alonso. I'm going to have to take him now. So I'll go Perez and Alonso.
I'm going to go Leclerc second.
Okay.
Actually, Leclerc second. I was just thinking whether I'm second or third. Because obviously Leclerc's normally very good at this track as well.
Yeah.
And Ferrari, obviously, the last race they won was in Austria.
Wait, didn't he also get... Was he not second in the opening race of 2020 or something?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
In that dreadful Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all thought, Ferrari will still be there, and then next thing...
And the next weekend they crash out in the first lap.
It's like 9 drivers had retired from that race by the end of it.
Kimmy was having an excellent race, and they didn't put his tyre on properly, and it flew off at the last one.
Yeah.
I think Kvyat's tyre just blow up.
Yeah, it was a great return.
Good start to the season.
Yeah.
The 2020 season, you look back on it and you're like, this was not terrible.
It was just a good time.
Yeah.
Because everyone was inside, everyone was drinking.
There was sport.
And sport was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going... Who'd you say?
Yeah, I said Leclerc second. My third
second.
place, and you've taken Perez Alonso. I'm tempted to go... No, but I think it's how good are Sainz normally in Austria?
He was going to be second last year, had his engine not blown up.
True.
There are gravel traps, though. We got a weekly Sainz gravel trap mention.
You know what? I'm going to take the both Ferraris off you. I'm going to go first Sainz,
yes.
Ferrari double podium in my predictions.
Yeah. Okay, I am going to go for Hamilton.
Fair. Yeah.
I think the Mercedes...
It was either between Sainz and Hamilton for me anyway.
Yeah.
They're okay.
I was hoping you wouldn't take Hamilton. But they did well in Spain, and it's not the most dissimilar of tracks.
No.
So hopefully.
But yeah,
well,
this is either going to go really a gamble that pays off very well, or it's going to go really badly. But
great. So, and now 1, 2, and 3 points.
Yep.
And it is a sprint weekend, so you can caveat some of your predictions with that. So
Yep.
what are you going to go for your 1 point?
Ferrari double points in the sprint race.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's fair. Very 1 pointer.
Yeah, I mean, you've got them both finishing on the podium in the actual race.
Yeah.
They have to finish what?
You're going to have no Ferrari
top
just
8.
have the
Well, they finished 7th and 8th in the sprint race. So you get your 1 point, but your podium's just gone.
Right, I'm going to go... A driver complains about orange smoke at some point. Actually,
Fair.
just smoke. Might be red.
Verstappen's tyre smoke.
Yeah, a driver complains about smoke at some point from like fans and stuff.
Yeah.
Right, 2 pointer. I will need... Is this a valid 2 pointer? I've gone for Verstappen doesn't win. Is that a valid 2 pointer?
But are you talking about the sprint or the race? Or
The actual race. I know it's borderline.
I would say it's 2 points if you say he doesn't win both.
Okay.
I think that.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't
fair.
win either one or both.
Yeah. Verstappen doesn't, or wins 1 or 0, basically.
Yeah.
Doesn't win both of the races.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll change it. I
think
accept that.
Because winning the actual race, I think.
Yeah. And I feel like that shows how this season's going, where now it's a 2 point prediction for a driver
Not win.
winning.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
depressing, but
Yeah, I'll go for that for my 2 pointers. So Verstappen doesn't win both the sprint and the actual race.
Okay. Mine is a bit of a strong Q2, maybe close to a 3 pointer, but Williams will get into Q3 in both qualies.
Both quali.
I can you seem a bit shocked.
Both quali. I would have said 1 quali would have been fine.
I think 1 would be fine, but
Yeah.
I also think Alex Albon's been quite good in quali.
Yeah.
And it's another straight heavy track.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might do 1 quali because both might be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
And I've heard your 3 point, which is quite a
Stretch.
strong 3 pointer.
So I want to go for 1 quali.
I'll let 1 quali
Yeah.
there. And my 3 pointer, right, bottom 4 in top 4, which is a driver in the bottom 4 teams. So Haas, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, or Williams qualifies either in the sprint or the actual quali.
Yeah.
In the top 4 of the grid.
Yeah. That's a good one, to be honest. And then my one, Verstappen has the absolute perfect weekend. He leads every single session. So the practice, the 2 qualies, the sprint, and the main race.
Are we counting like Q1, Q2, Q3? No, I'll give you 5 points if he does Q1, Q2, Q3 on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
If he does all of them.
If he does
Well, there might be weather as well, and it's 2 sets of Q1, Q2,
Oh,
Q3.
yes. That's a very bold prediction. Didn't Ricciardo do it in when he won in Monaco, I think?
Yeah,
he was P1, P2, P3, Q1, Q2, Q3, and then the race as well. Yeah. It's the perfect weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. Predict. So I've gone for my podium, Perez, Alonso, Hamilton. The driver complains about the smoke for my 1 point prediction of Verstappen doesn't win both the sprint and the normal race for my 2 point, and then bottom 4 and top 4. So a driver for the bottom 4 teams qualifies in the top 4 for either the sprint qualifying or the normal qualifying. And what have you gone for?
Yeah. Yeah, and my podium was Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz. A Ferrari. My 1 point is a Ferrari double points finish in the sprint race. Williams will be Q3 for one of the qualies for my 2 pointer, and my 3 pointer will be a Verstappen has an absolute perfect weekend. So leads every single session, including practice, both qualies and both races, with a bonus 2 points if it includes Q1, Q2, Q3, and SQ1, SQ2, and SQ3.
Yeah, if he manages to do that, it will be insane.
Domination and a half.
And he still won't win driver of the day, probably.
Yes.
Great. Well, that has been the show for today. Thank you to Will and Chinmay, as ever.
No.
We'll be back next week for the final one on the radio to look at Austria. Oh, will you not be back? I'll be back. Are you both leaving?
I'll be here.
I probably won't be, but we'll see.
Well, me and the Wills will be back.
Yeah, so will you. Yeah.
We'll find
A Will
something
show.
to discuss
Yeah.
for 2
I mean-
hours.
The Will special.
Wheel spin. No, wheel spin.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
tried. I failed. I'm sorry.
We'll talk about willpower for the whole.
willpower.
Willpower day.
Yeah, and we'll be back talking about Austria. Sprint race, so obviously competitive sessions on the Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Make sure to watch them all. And we will leave you now. So thank you to Will, thank you to Chinmay.
No worries.
I've been Will as well, and thank you for listening.